And welcome back to Fizzy's Wacky World of Wrestling. I'm 14 Fitzpatrick, and this is part 3 of a review of Monday Night Raw from April 7th, 2014, from the New Orleans Arena in New Orleans, Louisiana. This is the Fallout show for WrestleMania 30, so this is going to be a bit of a longer podcast than normal. Anyway, we continue on with the WWE Tag Team Championship match after an Adam Rose video package, which was really interesting, and that you should go see it on YouTube. I really don't have a lot to talk about with Adam Rose because I haven't seen him work a match, but I do know that he's a pretty good worker, and that, he's a perfect person to debut on the roster. Anyway, we have a Tag Team Championship match. The Usos versus the Potato, Batista, and Orton, Golem. Anyway, this was very much an old-school Southern-style Tag Team Championship match that sets things up for things down the road. The Usos get turned into crash test dummies by the far more experienced Orton and Batista. Orton and Batista have both been Tag Team Champions before. They know what to do in this situation. And they take out their anger and rage upon the Usos because the Usos have interfered multiple times in the Authorities' plans, whether they realize it or not, and aided the deranged lawn gnome Daniel Bryan in his quest for the championship gold. So basically, what happens is Batista bombs one of the Usos onto the steps, and then the two of them proceed to pose in the ring when they get counted out. So basically this match ended in a no contest. The Usos still keep their belts, but now they have a very dangerous team of Randy Orton and Batista potentially going after their belts. So this leads to a very interesting dynamic. Do the Usos continue to support Daniel Bryan now that he's the champion, or do they have to look out for themselves and possibly turn heel? So a lot of interesting subplots have developed in the tag team division. Anyway, we continue on with our next match. The returning Rob Van Dam. I personally would have preferred Alberto Del Rio's Bucket returning to have a match after it got beaten so soundly by ADR last time, versus the intellectual savior of the masses, Damien Sandow, who's currently going through kind of a crisis at this point because he lost his Money in the Bank briefcase, he lost to John Cena, and he's been losing to everybody and a ham sandwich over the last couple of months. Sandow attempts to interrupt the RVD chants, which I applaud him for massively, but RVD decides to just kick him in the face. Every time he tries to interrupt, Rob Van Dam has a counter for it, and Rob Van Dam is the master of counter wrestling, and jumping really, really high, which he proceeds to do on Damien Sandow. He then goes for the Rolling Thunder, then he goes up top for the 5-star Frog Splash, and, defeats Damien Sandow. This wasn't a bad match. It was incredibly short. It wasn't particularly, in my mind, interesting because the wrong person won, in my mind, because I'm not a particularly big fan of Rob Van Dam, but he has done better in his WWE run than he has in TNA, so okay, we'll see where he goes from here. Anyway, our next match after this one was Bad News Barrett making his in-ring debut for the first time in several months, taking on the most despised man in wrestling besides Brock Lesnar, Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio has been getting constant boos from the crowd ever since he appeared in the number 30 spot in the Royal Rumble this year, because they thought that Daniel Bryan should have had that spot. So anyway, what happens throughout this match is Mysterio is constantly booed while Barrett is cheered like the proverbial babyface that has gone to slay the mega heel. So Barrett does his signature spots. He also says he's afraid he's got some bad news, but Mysterio proceeds to interrupt him, which was a mistake. Then Mysterio attempts his lucha offense, when then Barrett counters the offense. He hits a Winds of Change. He then hits the bare knuckle bull hammer elbow. After Mysterio attempts a 619 and then tries to go up for the top rope splash, but Barrett is there waiting for him. Barrett wins by pinfall, and this was a really good match for Barrett because it showcases that he's gotten over a lot of the injuries that he's sustained over the last couple of years, especially that very severe arm injury that he had. While Rey Mysterio is Rey Mysterio. Continues to be just the same person he's been pretty much always, except with really bad knees. So, I'm not sure. Maybe they should turn Mysterio heel for his last run. That might be a good idea. I mean, have him challenge Daniel Bryan. I mean, Bryan and Mysterio would be a decent match. They've had a couple of matches before. And it would be pretty good. Then we had another Adam Rose video package, and it was another good one. But now we get to talk about our next match. Alexander Rusev debuts on Monday Night Raw with his manager, Lana, versus Zack Ryder. Now, Rusev is another wrestler from the NXT program that has made his debut, and unlike Adam Rose and Bo Dallas, I actually have seen some of his matches. They've mostly just been short squash matches, but he actually has a lot of talent. He's this big, hulking barbarian who looks like a brick, and Lana is this really good manager. And you have this really interesting dynamic where they kind of remind me of Boris and Natasha from the Rocky and Bullwinkle show. I'm not sure if they're going to be going after any Sheamuses or anything like that, or flying squirrels. Who in WWE reminds me of a flying squirrel? Justin Gabriel? Nah. Daniel Bryan? Possibly. Anyway, Rusev basically squashes Zack Ryder into a paste, and then wins via the Cobra Clutch move, which is called the Acolyte. I also absolutely love the theme music that Rusev is using. It's one of those themes that basically strikes terror into anybody who's going to be facing against him. And wow, this was actually a good match. Ryder gets basically squashed into paste, Rusev applies his finisher, Lana does these moves where she says, Rusev, crush! And Rusev does exactly that. It's a really interesting dynamic that I really am going to be interesting to see moving forward. And that's it for part 3, because we have a separate video to talk about the next segment, and this one is going to be a bit more, I don't know, uncomfortable, creepy, or something like that. So we're going to end part 3 a little bit early to talk about part 4, which is the last appearance of the Ultimate Warrior, who passed away at age 54. Well, actually, I'll continue this part, but this is the part where if you want to stop the video or something like that, and switch over to another part to talk about the rest of the show. But if you want to keep listening, go right ahead. So anyway, Ultimate Warrior comes out to the ring, and he doesn't look like he's in good shape at all. I look at this man, and I think to myself, this is the last days of somebody. This is his last days. His face was completely red. He walked down to the ring. He didn't run. He looked like he was having some trouble breathing. And you could just see that this man was not going to last very much longer. I think he realized it. I think his doctors realized it. I think some of the people in the WWE realized it. And I'm so happy he got to go out the way he did, because he got his Hall of Fame induction ceremony. He rebuilt the bridge that was burnt nearly 20 years ago. He got to be on Monday Night Raw one last time and cut a really good promo for him. Was a really good promo. A lot of people didn't really make a lot of sense about the promo, but what I saw it was he was saying goodbye. He was saying goodbye to the WWE Universe and to the people in the back, because he thought that he wasn't going to last very much longer. I mean, he had taken so many steroids. He was part of that really rough and tumble 1980s era of wrestling. And for him to make it to age 54 is, well, kind of unbelievable in a sense, because the average wrestler lives until like they're about 50, realistically, because they've been through so many hard bumps and so many, broken bones and so many serious injuries that they come back way too quickly from. The drugs, the alcohol, the hard partying. Wrestling is a very, very hard life, and I have absolutely major respect for anybody who wants to go into this career, because it is not an easy life. I respect what the wrestlers do. I don't try to openly mock them like some wrestling writers, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit, like some wrestling writers who do blogs or whatnot. And this isn't a dig or a shot at anybody in particular. It's just an observation I've noticed. What happened is that some people kind of didn't understand what he was talking about, and they kind of judged it as, Ultimate Warrior's going into business for himself or something like that. A lot of people who have said those comments have since backtracked and apologized for them, and I'm really happy that they have done that, because I thought that went a little bit too far. But it was a really heartfelt, really well done promo that, looking back on it now, that he's passed away so quickly after the promo, he's basically was saying goodbye. Best wishes to his family, for now going through this tragedy that I think that they knew was going to happen eventually, because he had such a hard life, because he was a wrestler. Prayers and thoughts go out to the Warrior family for going through this massive tragedy. I really don't know what to say, but it was a really well done promo. It was really heartfelt. You basically was speaking from the heart, from his warrior persona. So yeah, I just watched a man 24 hours ago who was cutting a promo, plus hours ago cutting a promo, and now, like 48 hours later, is dead. It's really eerie. It's really spooky. It's like really unbelievable. I'm still in shock about that, because I just watched a man. I know I'm repeating myself. I just watched a man cut a promo, and is 24 plus hours later is dead at the age of 54 from a massive heart attack. But now they don't know the cause exactly, but he did collapse in front of a hotel at around 5:50 p.m. Pacific time, was rushed to an area hospital, and was pronounced dead on arrival. So we don't know the circumstances of what exactly happened, but that's the most likely cause at this point. But like I said, my thoughts and prayers go out to the Warrior family for now having to deal with this amazingly horrific tragedy. But on a certain level, I'm very happy that he got to go out the way he did. Rebuilt all the bridges that he had burned previously, got in the Hall of Fame, got to say goodbye to the fans for one last time. Got to go out there as the Ultimate Warrior, and like I said, say goodbye to the fans. Anyway, we end this somber note with our next part, with more debuts, a championship match, a trophy presentation, and a World Heavyweight Championship match between a shovel and a deranged lawn gnome. And we'll be right back.